If you're a pharaoh in ancient Egypt with a ton of fancy stuff, how do you stop people breaking into your definitely not compensating for anything massive tomb and nicking the lot? It's about 6,000 years until Ring doorbells will be invented, so you do the next best thing. Put a curse on anyone who disturbs your royal slumber. But did you know that a mummy's curse is supposed to have sunk the Titanic? You could be cursed with being bitten by a goose, and even the Egyptian Minister of State for Antiquities has suffered a mummy's wrath. You will after this video. I'm Obi, this is Tut, and we're in Tut's world now. One of the most renowned instances of a mummy's curse is associated with the opening of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1923. A warning on Tut's tomb reads, "Death shall approach on rapid wings to him who disrupts the king's tranquility." When Egyptologist Lord Carnarvon and discoverer Howard Carter decided to open the tomb, they ignored it. Of course they did. Men never read the instructions, do they? While working at the tomb, Carter sent a messenger to his house. On arrival, the messenger heard a faint cry, saw Carter's canary being eaten by a cobra, the sign of the Egyptian monarchy. Probably should have taken the hint then, but no, they cracked on. Lord Carnarvon, the team's financial sponsor, died 4 months after the tomb was opened. He got a mosquito bite on his cheek, and he nicked it while shaving. It got infected and he died, which is a bit weird, because on the autopsy of Tut's mummy, it shows a legion on his cheek too. Spooky. But the misfortune just kept coming. Carter's friend Sir Bruce Ingram was given a mummified hand as a gift.
What's wrong with a Starbucks gift card?
I know, right? I mean, I've had some weird gifts from exes, but nobody's ever lobbed a mummy's hand at me in a Secret Santa. On its wrist was a scarab bracelet marked with, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water and pestilence." Soon after receiving the gift, Ingram's house burnt down, followed by a flood when it was rebuilt. There's no mention of any pestilence, but I guess dealing with the insurance people when you put Mummy's Curse on the forms is enough of a punishment. 6 people altogether had their deaths put down to Tut's curse, but much of the hysteria was probably caused by Arthur Conan Doyle, the Sherlock Holmes guy, putting his tuppence in and writing about elementals guarding the tomb that caused the deaths. Note to self, when excavating an ancient tomb, don't let your murder mystery writer mate get a sniff. Now, I'm a regular human being.
Rumor has it you're 3 owls in a trench coat.
That's never been proven. But the point being that any rational human being is not comfortable around Canada's version of the Air Force. These feathery bastards are pure evil. Rumour has it they're the only thing Jason Voorhees is afraid of, and that Canadians transfer all the meanness and cruelty of the whole nation into these death chickens.
Is that why Canadians are so nice?
That's what the legend says. So it stands to reason old High Priest Hermeru decided they would be the perfect curse for anyone looting his tomb. The curse on the walls of his tomb translates to, "I shall seize his neck like a goose," which is quite the curse. I'd like one of those on my headstone, frankly. If you don't keep my grave tidy, geese will terrorise every picnic you have in the park. Nice.
Do you think when Tut put "death shall approach on rapid wings," he actually meant geese?
It's possible. Maybe geese were a much greater danger in ancient Egypt than we thought. Other weird curses that have been found on tomb walls are: his estate shall belong to the fire, and his house shall belong to the consuming flame. His relatives shall detest him. His office shall be taken away before his face, and it shall be given to a man who is his enemy. His face shall be spat at. Anyone who does anything bad to my tomb, then the crocodile, hippopotamus and lion will eat him. Not sure if that's one at a time or all at once. And of course my personal favourite, a donkey shall violate him. A donkey shall violate his wife. So unless you want to be chased by geese, eaten by various exotic animals, and a donkey to try it on with the missus, I suggest leaving any ancient Egyptian tombs you find well enough alone. Oh, and like this video and hit the subscribe button. We wouldn't want you to find Canadian geese following you to work every day now, would we? And the curses didn't stop in the 1920s. In 1971, Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery made the significant discovery of a statue of Osiris, the Egyptian god of death, while excavating near Saqqara. After finishing his day's work, Emery and his assistant went back to the digs in a nearby village, taking the statue with him. Emery then hopped in the shower. I mean, he's been working in the desert, of course he is. A few minutes later, his assistant heard him crying, so he goes to see what's wrong, only to find his employer gripping the sink, sobbing. He was paralysed down his right side and died the next day. Now, was that the curse of a statue? or just a particularly traumatising shower. It seems that even government officials aren't safe from a mummy's curse. Zahi Hawass, who later became the Minister of State for Antiquities, was excavating at Qom Abu Bilo, about 70 kilometres from Cairo. He removed several artefacts from the site for transport, and that's when the trouble started. He states that his cousin died on that day, that his uncle died on the first anniversary, and that on the third anniversary his aunt died. He also claims he was later involved in the removal of 2 child mummies to a museum and reported that he was haunted by the children in his dreams, a phenomenon which he claims did not stop until the mummy of the father was reunited with the children in the museum. So even working for the government can't save you if you piss off a mummy.
If I could choose a curse to inflict on Rishi Sunak, you can guarantee it would be the geese. He'd never be able to walk past a lake ever again, the ferret-faced little bastard.
I know, you're still upset that he shut the gyms during COVID, aren't you?
I'd even go for the donkey. In fact, yeah, let's go for the donkey curse.
Traditionally, British MPs go for pigs. Naming no names. David Cameron. If you know, you know. Oh, don't Google it. It will ruin your day. It's a long-standing legend that a mummy's curse sank the liner in 1912. It was carrying a mummy board, a kind of coffin lid, when it hit the iceberg and sank, killing more than 1,500 people.
I bet Rose and Jack could have both fitted on the mummy board.
Let's not start that whole debate. The mummy board is said to have been bought by one of 4 young English travellers in Egypt during the 1860s or 70s. 2 died or were seriously injured in shooting accidents, and the other 2 died in poverty within a short time. The mummy board was past the sister of one of the travellers, but as soon as it had entered her house, the occupants suffered a series of misfortunes. The celebrated clairvoyant, Madame Helena Blavatsky, is alleged to have detected an evil influence, ultimately traced to the mummy board. She urged the owners to dispose of it, and so it was presented to the British Museum.
I take it the local tip weren't accepting mummies for recycling then.
Obviously not. Knowing the Victorians, I'm surprised it wasn't ground up and put in a stew. They were a bit weird about eating things they really shouldn't be eating. The story goes that it was on board the Titanic, and we all know how that story ends. But the British Museum claim the mummy board has never left the museum since its donation in 1889, all the way up until the 1990s, so it's highly unlikely it was actually on board the Titanic. That story probably started as a case of Chinese whispers, after a first-class passenger on the ship called William Stead was working on a book about mummies and their curses. Other passengers then claimed the curse had followed old Will, or that he brought the mummy on board in secret. In any case, William went down with the ship and was last seen clinging to a life raft with John Jacob Astor. In a weird twist, however, Stead had published 2 papers that had an eerie connection to the sinking of the Titanic. In 1889, he published an article titled "How the Mail Steamer Went Down in Mid-Atlantic by a Survivor," where a steamer collided with another ship, resulting in a high loss of life due to a lack of lifeboats. And in 1892, he wrote a story "From the Old World to the New," in which a vessel, the Majestic, rescues survivors of another ship that collided with an iceberg. And if that ain't weird, I don't know what is. So that'll do it. If you liked today's video, then why not get into a heated debate with the subscribe button about whether Rose or Jack could have both fit on that door. I'm Obi, you know Tut.
May you never be chased by Canadian murder ducks.
And we've been in Tut's World. See ya!